Hello and welcome to Elite Insights with Toni Patillo. This is where wisdom meets legacy. I'm Toni Patillo, I'm your host, and today's episode is all about the power of breath and purpose and transformation. God knows we need a transformation right now. But I'm really excited to introduce our guest today because she's a transformational leader, a social impact strategy. She's a co-founder of NAM Global, Giving NAM, and the Sukshma Teacher Training course. She's an executive director of global business expansion at Root Light International and the co-author of Breath as Medicine. She shared her work at the White House, which we want to hear all about that, on major media across 3 different countries with global audiences of over 300,000 people. I welcome to the stage, as they would say, I'd like to welcome Renata. Renata's mission is simple, yet it's profound. And to help people, this is all about helping people to align with logic, with intuition, for greater well-being and measurable impacts. So Renata, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Oh, Toni, I love you. I'm so grateful. Thank you for having me. It's a true pleasure to be talking to you and sharing a little bit of, light in this ever-changing world.
It's ever-changing, is no kidding. Oh, yeah. So I want to jump right in because you've got a pretty vast level of expertise. You've dedicated your life to transforming others. I've always known you just to be serving, and helping other people to be the best version of themselves. And while some of us who are coaches and educators, etc., we're used to dealing with people on the basis of business and maybe personal decisions, but you actually have really found a unique niche for yourself where you can go on a global basis. Can you tell us what led you to tap into this journey?
Well, I don't even know how to begin, but maybe I'll start with the origin, right? Like I was born in a very blessed family to be very versed in traveling. So we're always traveling, like from very small age. I was going around with my dad a lot. And at my 19th birthday, I decided I was going to go backpack in Europe. And I always knew that I wanted to work with people. I wanted to help people because I was in my family. They're very philanthropic too, would help people in the favelas or be part of like Rotary clubs or Lions Club. So we will always be volunteering, doing things to help the community. And I think I just kind of continued doing that because that's kind of a language. Like, if you are born speaking it, you kind of continue to speak most of your life. And I think that was kind of, for me, I was born in this environment that was always very service oriented. And, it just expanded when I went to Europe. Then I traveled all around Europe and I was always finding ways to help and support while I was learning and traveling. And so it kind of has carried throughout my entire life. And particularly with this work that, of being blessed to be guided and by my spiritual mentor, Dr. Joseph Michael Levery, which I hope he's coming here one time soon.
Sure.
I just kind of like, I met him 25 years ago and I just kind of like, I embarked in this similar journey, but now, addressing the world in a different way. And he himself travels around. So it was kind of a combination of traveling and serving. And that's kind of like in a nutshell.
So you speak about traveling all over the world. I happen to know, I don't know exactly how many languages, but it would be interesting for us to know, how many languages do you speak?
So I am born in Brazil, so I speak Portuguese as my native language, which is probably very oxidated right now. Then I also speak Spanish. I speak Catalan. And my parents are descendant of Italians. So I'm also, I speak some Italian. I speak some French. Wow. And English, I hope. And then I said French and, a small, tiny bit of German, but
Okay.
not too, mostly like I can fluidly speak 4 or 5 languages.
Wow. That's
Which is,
awesome.
I think, besides, like allowing you to kind of get away, like it allows you to understand other people's culture. Because you have like when you speak the same language, there is a proximity that happens. It's like maybe as an American is different to see, but like if you're out, like traveling in a different country and then you find another American versus having all the other foreigners, there is kind of an inclination to be closer to the person somehow. And I think the languages has helped me understanding various cultures and be able to serve them in a better way, because I'm not just communicating in a physical level, like it goes a little bit deeper.
Sure.
So you know a little bit better than if you're just communicating via a translator or, not having that connection. People have a tendency to open up more if you speak their language.
Absolutely. I see that. And you do a lot of translation for Dr. Livery.
As well, yes. Exactly.
Wow. So I want to go on to, you've been recognized globally for your work, but I'd love to know, what were some of the pivotal moments that shaped who you are today? What are some of those pivotal moments along this journey?
I would have to think about it, but I think when we start doing this super classes or the global gathering for peace is when I kind of noticed that like we're really reaching people in a mass level, like people, when you're standing in front of hundreds of thousands of people that is right in front of you and you're on a stage and you're not singing, it's not a concert, is a service. Like you're there helping represent something that is much bigger than ourselves, to help them find themselves, to help them find their light, to find hope so they can continue to move forward, whatever situation they're experiencing. So I think those different events that we had throughout the years was always kind of an awakening moment. It was like, oh, wow. And then it makes you feel like, even when we individually, as people that are serving and doing the great work, our problems become so much smaller because you have so much to do, to help other people, and without forgetting that you have to continue to work on yourself. So yeah, I can say that those are moments that were very special and pivotal.
That's cool. Very nice. So let's talk about the power of breath and conscious living. I think people underestimate the power of breath. I think some people don't even really know how to breathe. Okay. They don't breathe. There's some people that don't breathe. They breathe only because, it's a survival thing. But conscious, let's just talk about the power. What were you invited? Well, before we get, no, I'm going to go ahead. So you were invited to the White House to lead a breath experience for clear decision making under pressure. Can you tell us about that visit?
It was a magical experience because I was not born near politics. Like I had nothing to do with politics. So for me, it was like I'm just gonna go and do me, like with what I know. And it's interesting because when you have both parties and, you enter the room, and because we are spiritual, we pick up energies, right? Like we feel and I enter into a divided room, which there is, one side Republican, one side Democrats. And I was like, oh, okay, so let's tap into the unifying aspect that we all have, which is like breathing. And so I can say that like when I enter, I felt this division. And then when we are synchronized in the breathing, we became one. And I think that's kind of like, the power of breath. There's so much more than the physiological aspect of breathing. There is a much deeper thing, because when God spoke, if you go into, in the beginning was the word, John 1st in the Bible, in the scriptures, is like it's written, God spoke and the world was created. But if you really think about it, when we speak, we are exhaling. Therefore, like God it exhaled the creation, and then we're here. So when we're breathing together in a room that feels divided, and everybody's now doing the same pattern of breathing, we kind of become united by that breath, and connected to the beginning of creation, that, God spoke and the world was created, and we're here together. We're all the same, just wearing different clothing, like considering that your body would be your, whatever, your disguise for this, but we're really the one entity coming from this one source. So being together in the room that felt divided and then back united. And my prayer at the end was like, may we all continue to do things together, united, reminding each other, because everybody in that room felt very like, in some level, either religious or believers of God. And it's like, that's what we have in common. So we may have differences in, conditioning or belief systems, but let's kind of, when having to create this resolution and finding solution for things, remember that we are all united by this one thread of the life, which is our breath. Is like our being together through the breath. So breath is very powerful. And as you're saying, if I may just jump straight into continuing that, like, yes, you say it's true. People are not breathing consciously. Everybody's breathing is an automatic mechanism of the body to survive, because we depend on the oxygen to be living. But we also are not kind of considerate, if you will, with our body tempo. Like you're doing something that is automatic and you're not aware of it, but you're not just stopping and say like, no, like, thanks to this breath of life, I am here right now doing whatever I'm doing. And I think maybe we got a little bit of a wake-up call during COVID, when people were actually needing machines, not being able to breathe, like going through all of the processes. And I think that's when, even if someone was not struggling with breathing, they were watching other people. So they kind of realized like, wow, like I depend on this. I should bring a little bit more attention. So we are sharing breaths during that time. In television, everybody was talking more and more and more about breath. And if you go back into the birth of any individual on the earth, it's like the first thing they do is to breathe, right? So as soon as they are removed from the womb, the sayings that they have to cry, they do the yellow slap on the butt and then the cry, but the cry is nothing else but breathing is the beginning of life. So is the first connection that we have with the exterior world, because we were, for I'll start from 7 to 9 months, depending on the time people spend in the womb. They were there in that kind of like connection through a cable, which is the umbilical cord, receiving the oxygen through the mother. But now is our first interaction with the external world, and it's through the breath. That's what really that's how you commune with the external world. And then when we leave the earth, is also known as the last breath. So it's that last exhale. So it's kind of like your entrance ticket and your departure, return ticket. And in between, we can have a better or less good life depending how we're breathing. Because the breath will regulate how you think, will regulate how you feel, will regulate even the actions you take, and then also the how you live your life in the physical body, because the body is what is allowing us to be in this time and space. So breath, in terms of the mind and how we communicate, is so essential, because for you to talk, you have to have air. Right. So sometimes, like, especially someone like me, as you know, I speak very fast and I'm always catching breath whenever I have a moment, like it's either through my mouth or through my nose. But if you're doing regular conversation, you can take some breaths through your nose. So it kind of keeps regulating your mind, because the mind is following the breath the entire time. The mind follows the breath. Therefore, if my mind is racing, then I can go into my breath and regulate my mind. And that's a very, 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 very practical, simple tool that everybody should be using. Because if I know that I'm like upset, let's say you're angry because somebody cut you off on the traffic, or you're sad, or somebody's having a panic attack, or they're having an anxiety moment, like, oh my gosh, they can always think it's the mind that is doing all of this. And now I'm going to use my breath as a regulator for any of these situations when I talk about the mind. So my mind follows the breath. Therefore, when I regulate my breath, I regulate my mind, and I'm able to calm down whatever circumstance is happening. It will take more or less time depending on the person's practice and ability to control the breath. But it's simple. It's for everybody, because this is the gift we're given. We're given the gift of breath so we can regulate ourselves. It's just that we don't receive a manual from early age. They're like, you can actually regulate how you feel and how you think through your breath.
Interesting.
And, and that's, it can take me to other paths of this conversation, but to know that you have the power to do it and self-regulate through your breath, it's a big thing. And sometimes even the experts like me, you may go through a moment that you're like so fired up that you have to kind of either get a reminder from somebody, or kind of like, kind of find a way back into the center and say like, okay, let me take a deep breath. This whole thing of count to 10 is nothing else than giving the space for the breath to come in and to go out and then self-regulate. It's so needed. Like, I feel like not just this year, but like all the years that are to come, because everything is moving in such a fast pace. If you don't have almost like a reflex tool to self-regulate, you can literally go crazy, literally.
Like some people are going crazy today. And
exactly.
It's very interesting, because there are so many people that do not understand the power of the breath, or we take it for granted, or they just assume that, oh yeah, I can breathe, I'm fine, not on an oxygen tank, I'm fine. But it really does have you really understanding it the way you have explained it is, I think, needed for the layman, and we have to continue to grow.
And believe through the experience, like, so if there is a moment that somebody is really upset, and like they're upset in the sense of being angry, like there are like different phases, and I like to kind of point it out, because as spiritual as I am, I'm very logical and skeptical. So if you're if you're like upset, you're angry, like somebody did something you really like, you want to punch them literally, the first thing that happens is your body release hormones that you don't want it in your body, right? For like cortisol, for example. And it takes a long time to get that out of the system. So if you're able to train yourself to not fall into these anger moments, then you're preventing it. So you're preventing yourself from going there, and then not having to do all the work to remove now the cortisol and then regulate again to come into stable moment. So working in prevention by training the breath, like you train your muscle. Like people go to the gym, they go, like muscle. You don't grow a muscle overnight. You have to keep working on it. So the breath, you don't only do it when you need it, you do it as a preventative tool. You use it in a way that's like, okay, so every time I wake up in the morning and I'm conscious about 10 breaths, perhaps, I don't know, then I'm already like starting the training. And this little training that is a little bit at a time, once, like 2-3 minutes, 5-10, until you go to an hour perhaps of breathing training, then your mind it's much easier to self-regulate than if it's kind of like, I'm going to only do it when it happens. Yes, you can do it when something happens. But as we said earlier, like when in the heat of the moment, even the most expert in whatever topic, they kind of forget their own tools. So I know that, like, okay, if I'm angry, I'm going to take a breath through my mouth, either like this, or if I have make my tongue a straw, this helps to cool the body. But how many times you get a chance to do this, like if you're talking with somebody. So I have to train it. So it becomes a reflex. Like when I'm like upset, I'm going to take a breath through my mouth, either like if I'm having a straw in my mouth or curl my tongue. And then you kind of like slowly, little by little, you start to realize like actually cools the body off. So if anybody does it right now, and there is a third option, which is to bend the tongue back like this, and then you inhale through the sides. Also, like you do it, you feel that it cools, it brings a cooling feeling in your mouth, right? So it helps to cool the blood, because when you're angry, the temperature rises, literally, like it's a physical thing. So like, okay, I'm learning to cool myself off. When I cool myself off, then perhaps instead of replying with anger, I can just kind of like modulate my answer, because now I cool myself off. My brain and my mind is more aligned. Then I can just kind of still perhaps be strong in my answer, but like it's not creating a ripple effect that can be devastating over time.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's it's very powerful to understand the, I guess, the scientific aspect of breathing. And that's not something that we're taught. Like when we're growing up, that's never come up in our teachings, right? Unless you are going to school to be a physical therapist, or if you're in medicine, then you understand all the parts of the body and what you do. And so this is very cool. Now, often we say that breath is medicine, and I know that's the name of one of your books. And I have that book. As a matter of fact, it sits right on my table in the living room, and it's like breath as medicine. And people always say to me, that looks interesting. So tell me more about breath as medicine.
Okay. So as I was saying, like the breath really affects the way we think, right? So then it affects the way we think, therefore affects the way you feel, and everything is interconnected in the body. So the function of your hormones is also related to all of the feelings and the how you move your body, and it's kind of all encompassing, right? So everything is interconnected. If you think that your brain is really like a pharmacy, for you to tap into that pharmacy, you have to use certain pathways, and it have to open certain parts of the body. When in this book that is called Breath is Medicine is basically focused in this method that is called the Sukshma Method. And this method is a method that helps to open the entire body, from literally from head to toe, using breath, a combination of breath and movements or micro movements, that she's allowing your energy body to open. And when your energy body, because this is the body that we touch, like this is like, but like if you really even pause for a moment and think about it, like what we see in the body is only like a small percentage compared to what happens inside the body. It's still physical, right? But like you have your heart, and you have the arteries, you have the veins, you have all the different organs, you have all the different cells. So there is like, if this is a 1%, inside is a 99%. This method allows you to work in this 99% to reflect in the 1% that we see, and also to take care of all these different parts of our internal parts, or organs and the cells and everything. And as you're opening this subtle body, because Sukshma means subtle, so you're opening the subtle body is a method that helps to take care of the subtle body, then the physical body can receive all the benefits from it. So you can have, strength, you can have vitality, you can have like radiance, and then you have like peace of mind, you have a clarity, so you can take, steps forward or back or sides, like in a conscious way, because you're not being led by, hormones alone, or emotions or negative emotions alone. There is like a more, I say that, like right now I'm talking to you from the 15th floor. So from the 15th floor, the view is very different from the first floor.
Sure.
The first floor doesn't get to see the ocean. 15th floor, I can see the ocean, I can see all my surroundings. But the people that are on the back of the building, they see the other side of the street, right? So the more perception you have, the easier it is for you to take decision, because you're no longer like, you don't have the problem right in front of you. You have more perspective. Your perception is vaster. So it becomes a medicine, because it's taking care, medicine is something to help heal. You can help heal physical body. It can help, like it can remedy a situation, like, right, put a medicine to remedy a situation. And by opening the entire body and mind, and they're taking care of balancing of your emotions, then you have a better life. You turn your breath as, into medicine. And I think this is the simplest and the cheapest thing that exists to
Yeah.
do it, because it's, breathing is free, but, you can benefit more from breathing if you know how to. And once you learn how to, then it depends on you to take the step forward, and then the discipline to keep it. So it allows you to keep your body in all levels healthy, mentally, emotionally, physically healthy.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. It's very powerful how, you've gotten this thing down to, I want to say down to a science, but it's really has a huge impact on our overall being. And I know I do a lot of breath work now as a result of being, associated with the NAM community and Dr. Levery. But I'll tell you that I remember the time, and it was many, many years ago, when I didn't realize how this breath work would be such an impact on my business as well as my personal life. So today it kind of is just goes without saying. I know when to work with my breath, when I need to bring things into perspective. I know I will use it with my team. And sometimes I even share it with my clients if I see that they need to be like, bring them to a calmness. People often ask me in my business, how do you remain so calm? Right? Yeah. Are you so? And it's because of, like you say, when you have the tools to work with breath, it regulates you to where you are not reacting versus versus just connecting. It's important to connect but not react.
And acting consciousness, the acting in consciousness is kind of like what we should all be thriving, because we are here to learn and experience the earth. And if we are always in reactive mode, then we don't get to experience it, because we're just in a responsive way. So breath, and also in a more scientific or physiological point of view, allows you to activate what is called the parasympathetic nervous system. There are a pair of nervous system, the fight and flight, which everybody knows. If there is a bear coming behind you, you're going to run like you never ran before in your entire life, because you're in the fight and flight mode. And then there is the counter part of this nervous system, which is the rest and digest, which is the parasympathetic nervous system. So because of we are kind of like moving in inertia with the world. Everybody is moving fast, and then you move fast. Perhaps you don't have to move fast, but you ended up moving fast. If you're not physically moving fast, your mind is racing, and then your emotions are out of control. So when you're able to train this other part of the nervous system to be more present, then you're kind of responding to things, because you have to, I'll call react, but it's really respond in consciousness. So then you can actually do the right thing. Because it's like, have you seen somebody that is so nervous and so like all over the place that they are looking for the glasses and it's in their head, or they're looking for their phone. Is that they're using the phone to talk, because you're not present, and we're being pulled, and attention is being pulled in all directions. People want your attention. People are competing for our attention, and then you're not paying attention to yourself. So every time you want to go back to your center, you can simply place your hands in the solar plexus here, and then your other hand, like almost like we call like a flame of a candle. And then you just kind of like, you're here. Perhaps it will help you to think and pay attention to the sound of your breath and the sensation of how the air is going through the nostrils. And if, everybody has these little tiny hairs that is in the nostril. So if you could actually imagine as you're breathing in, you could see those little hairs moving in, and then the air and the oxygen traveling in the body. And it takes perhaps 10 seconds, but it allows you to be in this very moment, because this is all there is. With the events that happened this year, with people being killed, like in front of cameras, and you're like, whoa, like you're here right now having a conversation, an interview, and then you're not here within seconds. So allowing ourselves to be in the present moment also kind of maximize our life within the earth, because we're using all of our attention into this very moment, which is the only thing that exists is here.
Yeah.
We're often, and I can speak for myself, like you're always thinking ahead, thinking about the future, what's going to be next. Other people are thinking about the past, but we're rarely here. And in the words of Dr. Levry, like the future is a mystery. Maybe other mystics have said that before. And then the past is history, and the present moment is a gift, which means is a present, right? So it's called present because it's a gift, and we're merging with this moment, creating what is going to be the future, because I'm fully in this moment. And it takes training. It doesn't happen just because I'm saying like, let's do it, everybody now going to live in the present. No, it's every day you take, and just to conclude quickly about this being in the present. And for me personally, I had a very intense year this year, was with fires and multiple personal things happening, that I had to really, say that the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
It's English expression. Like I was able to say, like, I'm so grateful for this practice, for the Sukshma Method. I'm so grateful for Dr. Levy's teachings, because it allowed me to actually put into action almost without effort, I'll say. Of course, there's an effort, but it's much easier. It's like, somebody can raise a glass. I can easily raise this glass. Other people that are weak right now, they can't.
Yeah.
So it seems easy, but it took, consistency for me to do this, because I'm working on my health. But if I haven't done all these years of every day practicing a little bit to be in the present, to use the tools, I would be a mess right now. So literally.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody comes off the, what do you call that? Of the path here and there, but like the recovering is so much faster, because the muscle is trained to do that. So the mind muscle is trained to go back into the present. The mind muscle is trained to be in gratitude. So like, okay, this is all that I have right now. If it's what I have right now is the breath of life, that's a big thing. There are people that need machines right now to breathe.
That's true.
So we just kind of like, we have to train ourselves, and this is for the benefit of all. I really want to invite people from all walks of life, from, like athletes to people that are recovering from surgeries, like the whole spectrum of humanity, to try this practice for some time, to have something that it belongs to you. Once you do it and you know it, there is no refill needed. You don't need to go to the pharmacy or call your doctor. You just kind of, it becomes yours. So I also want to extend this invitation for people to be connected with their breath. And perhaps it's not going to be with an hour practice. Maybe it's just like, taking 10 seconds in the morning and like connecting with the breath, or when you're upset or you're angry or fearful, what's going to happen? I don't know the future. Just to kind of like go back to the breath, and then just focus in, the gift that the breath is, how it can remedy a lot of our situations and problems.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Now we want to talk a little bit about the leadership and global impact. You've worked with entrepreneurs, athletes, public leaders all around the world. And how do you help these high performance people who are, really very intense about their whole craft or skill or whatever they're doing? How do you help them connect with purpose and performance?
It's funny. It seems redundant, but it boils down again to the breath, right? Like, and of course, every person you're gonna speak differently, because like a high CEO executive is different than an athlete or, a mom so the angle to get into these people is different. And the beauty of this practice too is that allows you to be so flexible in how you communicate, because you're able to, become very alpha if you need to, or you become a more listener if you need to. And as you know, we're alpha people and very strong personalities and character. So by having this flexibility, it allows you to navigate, their minds, and then take them to the logic that whenever it makes sense for the person, then they're gonna, it's like, oh, okay, yes, it makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the different breathing techniques combined with all the wisdom that we have of divine spiritual wisdom and understanding, there are tools that we have that allows us to understand the other individual in front of us, which allows them to understand themselves. And this morning, in fact, I had a client, and I could say that she had like a lot of Jupiter energy, which is very controlling.
Yeah.
That in the process of breathing, there was like a lot of resistance in the exhale. How a person breathe, if they like inhale and hold, or if they like don't fully exhale, like that not fully exhaling, there is a fear component to it of letting go, right? Because when you exhale completely, you relax. So there is like is a letting go. And if you feel like you have to control everything, you have to hold.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you hold? You ended up holding your breath.
Mm.
So when you kind of like use, okay, I know I have that information that this person is extremely controlling, like to access, because there's multiple Jupiters. Then what you do is like, okay, so let's train to exhale. Let's just train to exhale. And then the biochemistry of the body starts helping. It will help this person start to change because there is something that is beyond themselves, right? Like for, men and women, but mostly women, that goes through intense hormonal changes in the body. Like sometimes it's like, they're like, I don't know who I am. Like the person is not recognizable because the hormone is taking over. So in the same way, if you're able to stimulate the good hormones in your body, you start having better reactions to things. You start, perhaps in this case, I'll say letting go more, because there is more trust that is going to be okay. Because also there is the chemistry of, so it's not so much only the mind. The mind is, in the Hermetic principle says the universe is mind, everything is mind. But you can use the mind as an entrance, but also use the physiology, using like, esoteric and mystical tools to get the person to go where they want to go, and get the altitude they need to see things, and then, plan strategically for something, because they are not now so much in the storm, they're above the storm. It's like the knowing that, yesterday here in Santa Monica, we're having like massive rain and gray weather. And then, that eventually the wind is going to blow, and then the clouds are going to go, and then it became sunny again. Right. So we experience in the macrocosmos what we're experiencing in the microcosmos. And when you know those things, then you stop becoming victim of it, because you're becoming the co-creator of circumstances instead of being the victim. Like all things happen to me. No, like you're participating from this, in this situation. And then how am I going to maneuver the situation in a way that is favorable and is going to be less destructive for me and for the company, or for me and my performance. It's allowing people to move to a different level that they may not even know that they have it. And it's easier to access than you think, because when we're in the storm, we think it's impossible.
Right. That's true. Yep. That's whatever you think, you create. Right. So let's talk about the massive peace gatherings with hundreds and thousands of people that you all have worked with. What have you witnessed about the collective power of humanity when people come together, like intentionally?
Yeah. Like I was saying, when we're at the White House having this experience of duality, and then when you're breathing, it's kind of come back to one.
Yeah.
when you're standing in front of thousands and thousands of people like this, you have people that are very wealthy, people that are very poor, people that are very healthy, people that have no health, they're in wheelchairs, or they're, like they have no strength.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment when we're all together, is similar experience that everybody now, the weaker becomes stronger, because we are as strong as the weakest link as a humanity, right? So when I do my personal work, when you do your personal work, we know that yes, it's helping me individually, but because we are part of this human chain of life, then even if it's by 0.001%, the people in my surrounding is going to get better, the world is going to get better. So when we do those gatherings, because it's massive amount of people, there is a huge impact in the global spectrum. So it's like they say that there is a certain amount of people that is equivalent to the 1% of the totality of the billions of people in the world. We're close to 8 billions right now. That when that number comes together in synchronicity, either in breath or prayer or chanting mantras, which is sound vibrations, sacred sound vibrations, then everybody that is on the planet, that is in the other corner of the planet, will be able to benefit from it, because it's kind of, there's a ripple effect, because the energy and the vibration is traveling across the globe. So it's very humbling experience, because you're seeing things and you're witnessing things that you can normally don't. And then in the days after, for example, in Mexico City, when we did, I think, the second super class, this global gathering for peace, there was there was less violence. And then they instituted, the government of the city said that, like, every Sunday we're going to offer to the masses free yoga, breath work, so everybody can continue this fact.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, is it a coincidence? No, it's not a coincidence. There was like an act that created an action, and that action created a ripple that was positive for people. So even if it's like you start in small and then you can grow, there is no action that is taken in vain. So everything is creating something, for the betterment of us individually, and then collectively as humanity.
Wow. That had to be a major humbling moment, to be in front of these thousands and thousands of people and just watch everybody kind of.
Yeah, it's the first time I came, like, I've been in stages before talking to hundreds of people, perhaps, but not hundreds of thousands of people.
Right.
And then when you're like, you go on the stage, it's like, it's so, you realize you're like just a dot, like you're one drop of the ocean, like it's just one drop in this. And then it's like, in all of this, people are our brothers and sisters, and we're
Right.
all the same. We all come from the same source, and we're just, dressing in different human suits, if you will, different colors, different ages, different sizes, but in truth we're all the same. And when we commune with the light together, it's kind of like what we're craving. We're craving being together, we're craving belonging, we're craving, like this union. And and when you get that, it's very special.
Wow. Very, very special. So we're going to talk a little bit about the legacy and service. Now, you've co-founded Giving Nam.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nonprofit that's dedicated to expanding access to healing. Why was it so important for you to make a service such a central part of your mission? Yeah. Well, and you kind of pointed out when you were growing up, this is what you were around. But as you are continuing to evolve through your own journey, what I don't know, what is the central part of your mission, which is service. And so what is that?
Yes.
That responsibility. That's what I think it's a real question.
Yeah. And it's really like a privilege, like this is something, like, as I said, I was brought up with that. So it was kind of easy for me, because it was part of my reality. and it got stronger as time passed by. And Dr. Levy is the person that founded this nonprofit, right? So we've been kind of supporting this system since 2001, which is a long time. So we started in New York, and and the ultimate, like, to cut to the chase of this, the answer to this question is that, like, when you serve others, you forget about yourself. Not forgetting in a way that you're kind of like, I don't care about myself, but you become an extension of the light. You become an extension of the creator, God, Adonai, Hashem, whatever the name of your God is. You're like, it's a privilege, because now, like, I get to do what God is intending to be doing, and I become his arms or hands, if you will. Then you get to see, like, that I am the same as this person, and I'm serving from a place of equality, that this person and I are the same. And when I help this person, I'm really helping myself. And it becomes almost like selfish act, because you're doing something that it helps you. And when it helps you, because you're connected in this chain, it helps everybody. And like most mystics know to do service work is the secret to heal disease, to heal conflicts, to heal financial problems. Like, people say, like, but how can I do service if, like, I don't even have it for myself? It's like, when you do it because you don't have it, if you're thinking you're living in the lack mentality, now it's going to be given to you because you have to give. So we get into this loop of serving and then being this extension of God. And if you're like transferring something from one container to the other, you're gonna always, like, I'm gonna refer to the yogurt that I was giving to somebody this morning. So I was like, oh, the last spoon you always, like, is the last one. I'm gonna take a little bit. So as I'm giving, the yogurt, I am also taking some, right? So then I also benefit in this process. And they say that the door of heavens is so low that you have to be so humble to go through it. So it means you have to really, like, incline yourself to go through that door. And service is a way for you to continuously be reminded that we are all the same. And you have to remain humble, no matter how much power you have, how much money you have, how much fame you have. You still have to keep that humility, because otherwise you're not going to be able, of course it's symbolic. I'm not saying that, it's a physical door of heavens, but it's a way for us to train ourselves to stay in humility through service, because it allows you even to see what's happening out there. Like, I remember the first time I went to India. I was born in Brazil, which is like, there is a third world country that has a lot of poverty, but I never saw that person on the street. I saw people very poor, in the favelas, but and when I went to India, I was with a group of Europeans that have never even seen poverty that close. They never, traveled to places that you see. And I remember being at the Golden Temple, actually, in Amritsar. And then we were walking towards the Golden Temple on the streets, and then there is a dead man on the street. There is, like, I'm sorry if it's too graphic, but there is mosquitoes, the scent is like, it's so intense. And I was thinking, it's like, wow, like, God bless this soul.
Yeah.
This temple, I'm so privileged, like, so it humbles you to see what is out there. And I'm not saying that everybody has to see everything, but, like, when you serve people from a place of equality, not because you're superior, because you have more.
No.
I am you, you're me, we're the same. I'm going to serve you because when I serve you, I serve myself, and I serve other brothers and sisters around the globe. It just keeps us into what we're supposed to be, like vibration of humility, and at the same time, communion with God, because you're an extension of that light and that power.
That's very powerful. It's very powerful. I commend you for all of your efforts, and you have been a shining light for so many people. And it's really, especially during these times.
Yeah.
During these times, what do you find during these times that people need the most?
I think it's now and always and forever will be love. Like um, uh, I don't think there is any other remedy that's most potent than love. It can be manifested in different ways. It can be manifested through a prayer. It can be manifested by a gesture. It can be manifested by a touch, by, gazing at somebody. But like for people to be seen in that energy of love, and then for them to really recognize that if God is love and God is breathing through us, and then therefore God is in us and we are God, then it's kind of like a little reminder of like, perhaps it's with the look, perhaps it's with a gentle smile, perhaps it's like, touching somebody's shoulders, or even sometimes a little tap, which is like the coldest of like connections. But like to be reminded that like, like we are made in image and likeness of the Creator. Therefore, if God is love, then we're love. Like this love that we're probably searching outside is already within us. So I think love is really the answer. And it's not like kind of like the way that everybody says, oh, love is the answer. Like it's kind of like is something for us all to ponder continuously. Like in this process, in this year for me, in my personal process, I'm like realize like ultimately is that like no matter how hard you're thrown left and right, when there is love that is surrounds you, and then you're able to recognize that love within yourself, then everything, it's still hard and it can be a mess outside, but you're like, okay, there is kind of, it's like a pilot fire that is there continuously and is keeping you, it keeps you going and keeps you kind of moving forward towards the fulfillment of the great contract that we do before we come to the earth.
Right. If you have there are other practitioners out here who are yoga teachers or physical therapists. I know that you guys have created a teacher program, and I know the importance of that because you can spread the work. If someone out here, if anybody in our audience knows of anyone, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you? And do you have different types of teacher trainings and things available for people who would like to incorporate this into their practice?
Yes, they can always go to Instagram as one of the easiest social media, which we can share, and the platforms that is this podcast is going to be shared. And the teacher training is really like a path of self-knowledge. Like for you to master something, you have to teach it. Yes. This is a common knowledge. And when you go through the process of learning it and then using what you learn as a service tool, because you don't know when you're going to need it. Sometimes like, it may be like you're crossing the street, somebody's having a panic attack. And then you can say like, just like, look at me. Let's take this breath together. So becoming an instructor of the Sukshma Method is something that is going to help you as an individual in all different, anybody that is working with people can benefit from this, because you can either do the entire sequence or you can do a piece of the sequence. You can do a minute of the sequence. So we're really inviting people to get to know this, because this is an ancient practice. It's not something that like came out of thin air that Dr. Levy invented, or I invented, or Alyssa invented. It's something that has been practiced for, long time. I almost forgot about it. But this practice was shown on national television in India, because two prime ministers, Nehru and then his daughter Indira Gandhi, which, was being the prime minister later on, they were fascinated by this practice, because at that time, we're talking about, I think, 1963 or so, they were saying like, this is what we need to maintain health. So they call the way of health would be to practice this. So they put it on TV where everybody can learn, and it's national TV. Like it's not like now we have cables and Netflix.
Yeah.
Everybody, if you want to turn the TV on, this is what it's showing, like everybody has to watch it. Yeah. So they were kind of being educated to learn to breathe since then. And the yogi that brought this originally, they say in their scriptures that he lived to be 335 years of age. Wow. So I don't think we're aspiring for that, even though with all the technology and then AI and everything that is happening now, people are like, oh yeah, we can longevity. We're gonna live like we want to live the time we're gonna live with health, mental health, and then happy and fulfilled. And this practice is something that you can use as a tool for your own health, but also as a service, tool to help other people.
Do you, speaking of AI, this wasn't a question that anybody brought to our attention initially, but because I'm in AI big time, it's very interesting to know how this impacts the world of health and um and and all of this that we're doing, the body work, the mental work, the how is the AI going to be impacting our breath or will breath or I don't know.
I think it's like a sword that it cuts in both sides. There is an aspect that is going to help people because like even now there are apps, so there is an app that teach you to breathe what they call the box breathing. You inhale, hold, exhale, hold out. So then you're looking, and some people are more visual, some people need more guidance. So then technology and AI can help by, educating people or creating pathways for people to kind of go deeper into this.
Yeah.
And there is the other group of people that is going to be so obsessed with the scrolling and then, like in the loop that you're hooked into this device that you're forgetting about yourself. And I always say, especially for the teenager people, like because of the posture that we're assuming now, because you're holding your phone down here and all of that, you stop breathing in the upper part of the chest. Because the lungs too. The lungs is not just here. The lungs come all the way up, like it's mostly like in the back, but it's all the way up into the clavicles. So the more we assume this posture of going down, either down on the phone or down the computer or any device, which is like, yes, it's AI, is also the device in itself, we are receiving less oxygen because you can't, if I can fill it up, this bottle all the way up, then I'm just filling up to here. And then the residue that stays here is carbon dioxide, which is like toxins. And then you're like becoming more fatigued, you're tired, you don't have energy. And then your posture starts to go down because the oxygen is not going in the upper part. So what really like those things that is in the corner that like, they stand because there is air inside. The moment they plug the thing, they pull out the plug, and there is no more air, it goes down. So if you think of your body like not receiving oxygen in the upper part because you're now so obsessed because you got into the loop of like talking to ChatGPT or any other AI, or you're creating a movie, or you're like in that world and you're so in it that you're doing what, it would be the survival breath, which is like very shallow, very minimal. So if I'm thirsty, but I take a little sips of water, will maintain me than not drinking anything. So they're like doing the bare minimum breath. There is no energy. And then also there's all the hormone parts, the dopamine, all of these other things that I'm not going to get into it. But if you just go into the breath part, like we start losing our body. And this, while we are in the physical plane, we need this car. It's not a 3-year lease, a 4-year lease. This is your lifetime lease,
Yeah.
But we go, it's going to be gone. But while it's here, you have to take care of it like so preciously, because it's like the life is as delicate as with the thinnest of my hair. It's like we're hanging by this very thin thread. And if we don't,
that's the instruction.
I was like, what's happening? Because I'm like on the post. It's so delicate that if we don't take care of it preciously, it just ruptures.
It does.
So AI, it's good for many things if you're able to train your AI, your ChatGPT, whatever, like you're dealing to even remind you, like, please remind me to breathe. Please help me, remind me to drink hot water. Remind me to stand up every 40 minutes and walk. Like, if you can train AI to be your personal trainer, that is going to benefit your health, that it's paradise. And then you use the tools that you have. Yeah, or you just become a victim of it, and then it sucks your life, literally.
Yeah.
Like you have
Yeah.
also the screen time, all of, like your eyes, it affects the eyes. So there's multiple side effects if you're not training your machine and the artificial intelligence to help take care of you. So, like, one of the most important things for me is my health. The greatest wealth is my health. So for me to interact with you and then make you useful, and for us to help everything else we have to do, keep my health. Remind me in all ways possible, using the Sukshma method, using regular breathing, conscious breathing, whatever that you're doing to keep my body healthy, so then I can be, a conscious participant of this amazing evolution that is happening in the world.
Right. Right. Thank you so much. Thank you for spending this time with us and sharing your wisdom, your energy, and your heart. Most importantly, this is a very sacred space, our health and our bodies. And many of us, I know from me, I've taken it for granted for many years, especially when you're younger.
Exactly.
You just think that you're good and it's always going to be good. But trust me, go, right?
Yeah.
But it's key to understand, especially as we're aging. It's really key to understand the different dynamics of our body and our breathing and our overall being, mindset, our head space. It's really important to tap in. So, is there anything that you would like to share with us before closing? Anything else that we may not have covered? I covered that AI part of it. Anything else that you can think of?
I think it's more like an invitation. As you said, now it's so important to realize that, like, we have a time period on the earth.
Yeah.
So, and it expires. And the better you take care of yourself in all levels, the better you spend this time that is limited, and it goes by fast.
Yeah.
So, of course, I'm inviting you to practice the Sukshma method because it's what has served me. I know it has served hundreds of people, if not thousands, if you go back into the time, like when everybody was practicing in India, which is millions of people.
Yeah.
And it really allows you to have like mental sanity, which is necessary for you to take the right action. And then, your life can unfold in a direction that is going to be positive for you. But beyond you is your legacy. What is going to be behind you? Like, what are you leaving behind? How are your presence inspiring other people? And it's really like, is walking the talk. It's kind of putting into actions things, because we're living in a society right now that everybody's fake in a way. I would take it back. It's like a lot of people are becoming fake because of the way that they're being built, or the way they're being raised, or the way that society is putting this pressure. So there is a lack of authenticity. And like what I love about this practice is that it's an authentic practice, and it's for everybody. Any person can actually do it, because everybody can breathe, and they can be trained to breathe properly, breathe in a certain way. So it's an invitation to live in consciousness, act in consciousness, respond in consciousness, and like be more in the present moment. And because of the nature of this practice, is like you're moving from one part to the other in every minute or seconds that you spend in each part of the body, because we descend in the body, we start in the brain and go to the toes, allows you to be training in this hour 15 minutes practice to be like, okay, I'm going to be 1 minute with my eyes, and that's all I'm focusing. I'm going to be 30 seconds with my mouth. It's going to be all I'm doing. So you're training that muscle to stay in the present moment, because in that moment is all there is. So let's get the gift of life of being in the present.
That's wonderful. That was a beautiful close. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to Elite Insights, where wisdom meets legacy. We have a variety of topics that we cover on this show, and I'm really excited about it, because every last one of them has to do with how we flow in the space that we're in. So again, I want to thank you all for joining us. If you really enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe and like. And remember that wisdom lives in every breath, literally. So thank you. Thank you, Renata. So good.
Thank you. Bless you. Bless all the audience. Thank you so much for this opportunity.